Iran has started implementing rolling power blackouts nationwide as the country struggles with a shortage of natural gas ahead of winter.
이란이 겨울을 앞두고 천연가스 부족으로 어려움을 겪음에 따라 전국적으로 순차적 정전 조치를 시행하기 시작했습니다. Tell us more.
Well, you might think that Iran would not have any shortage of power because it's got the world's third largest oil reserves and the second largest natural gas reserves. But the issue is a lack of investment in creating electricity and generating electricity, and also poor infrastructure, which means they've had to institute these rolling blackouts. And so in Tehran, the capital city that has 9.5 million people, there are going to be 2-hour daily outages. They started yesterday. It's homes and it's businesses. And, well, it's crunch time because winter is coming and they're trying to make sure that they can make it through. The other issue is that Iran is cut off in some ways from the world because of sanctions. And its nuclear program has also been sanctioned, so it cannot rely on nuclear energy.
Now, when you say it's crunch time, you're saying now is the time to act.
Yeah, and also now is the very difficult time, the time when the problem is arising because winter is starting.
Yeah, all right. So let's have a look at this expression here. Rolling power blackouts.
So, first of all, a power blackout or just a blackout is when suddenly the power cuts off, the electricity cuts off. And I think we've all experienced that at least once in our lives. Suddenly, without warning, poof, the TV goes off, the lights go off. You have to find your torch or your candles.
Exactly.
A rolling power blackout or a rolling blackout is when you're scheduling blackouts for different regions, perhaps, or different districts. So, you know, over in the west of the city, they black out for 2 hours, then the north for 2 hours, then the east for 2 hours, then the south for 2 hours. So the idea is that this area, then this area, then this area. So not one area is constantly losing power, but we all have to bear the burden.
Right. 그래서 rolling은 돌아가면서 뭐뭐 한다라는 뜻으로 썼고요. power blackout가 정전입니다. 그래서 순차적인 정전 조치를 말하고 있습니다. What about ahead of something?
Well, it's before it happens. We talk about something, doing something ahead of something, or something happening ahead of something means in time before that. If we're looking at distance, it means it's in front of. But here we're looking at time.
Ahead of winter, 겨울을 앞두고라는 뜻이고요. 이게 물리적인 눈에 보이는 것이면은 ahead of me, ahead of you. 그래서 내 앞에 진짜 이제 가시적인 눈에 보이는 것에 대해서 말할 수도 있죠. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Iran has started implementing rolling power blackouts nationwide as the country struggles with a shortage of natural gas ahead of winter. Now here's our next headline.
A rare marble bust found being used as a doorstop is set to be sold for as much as £2.5 million, or about 4.5 billion won, after a court greenlit its auction.
과거 문 고정 받침으로 쓰였던 보기 드문 대리석 흉상 한 점이 법원의 경매 조치 승인에 따라 250만 파운드, 우리 돈으로 약 45억 원에 판매될 것으로 전망됐습니다. What an expensive doorstop.
It is, but it started off being really cheap. The local council bought it for just £5, £5 back in the old days. It then seemed to get misplaced. Nobody knew where it was, and it turned up on an industrial estate in Scotland, in Bollintor. It was propping open a shed door being used as a doorstop. And the thing is, this is not just any old bust. It's a bust of St. John, who was an MP. His family was quite rich, owned land in Scotland. And it was sculpted by Edmé Bouchardon, who is a very famous French sculptor who, if you go to Paris, you can see their work in the Palace of Versailles. So this is a really big deal. This was a really important, precious sculpture being used as a doorstop.
그 처음에 이 5 주고 그 카운슬에서 샀을 때가 그때가 언제예요? 그때가
It's quite a while before 98.
Yeah. 그렇군요. 네, 1990년대 정도가 됐을 것 같은데, 네. 그때 5 샀다고 하니까 지금 환율로 하면은 9,000원 정도인데 뭐 그때 환율이 어땠을지 98년도면 그때보다는 아마 파운드가 굉장히 더 셌기 때문에 더 조금 더 비쌀 수 있지만 그래도 만 원.
Probably let's say 20,000. 20,000 won.
2만 원이라고 칩시다. 어쨌든 그냥 정말 헐값에 왜냐면 사람들이 가치를 몰랐으니까 이 흉상을 구입을 한 거예요. 그래서 뭐 무겁고 묵직하고 그래서 그냥 문 닫히지 말라고 문 고정용으로 그냥 문 앞에다가 세워놓고 그랬었는데 알고 보니 이게 엄청난 작품이었대요. 그래서 이번에 우리 돈으로 45억 원에 경매에서 판매될 것으로 예상이 된답니다. 와우. Alright, what's a doorstop? We just talked about it, but what is it? Yeah.
Something that stops a door.
Yeah.
It's something that you put in front of a door to stop it from swinging closed. I don't know about you, Sue, but I've got a couple of doorstops in my house.
Yeah?
Our ones are made of plastic, I think. And
Okay.
they look like just little slopes or ramps that you can stick under the bottom of the door and they keep it in place.
맞아요. 문 닫히지 말라고 우리가 문 딱 고정시키는 것들 그걸 doorstop라고 하죠. 어제도 이 단어가 나왔어요. 어제 사전 얘기하다가
네.
굉장히 두꺼운 사전을 예전에 많이 샀었는데 셰인 선생님이 요즘에는 뭐 거의 그냥 doorstop으로 쓴다라고 하는 농담으로 얘기를 하셨었죠.
You can also joke about the size of a sandwich. My goodness, that's a doorstop.
물건이 이제 크고 묵직해 보이면 다 문 고정 받침으로 쓰려고 이제 농담을 영어식으로는 많이 하는 거죠. 네, 실제로는 그런다기보다는 그런 식으로 이제 doorstop라는 단어를 쓸 수 있고요. 한 단어입니다. doorstop. What about to greenlight something?
To greenlight something means to give it the go-ahead, to say, yes, you can do it, to say, okay. We often use it for movies. We talk about a movie being greenlit, meaning the producers have said, okay, here's the money, go and make it. We've decided we want this story to go on screen.
That's
but
right.
here, I guess there were maybe some legal issues, if it belonged to the council or who it belonged to and whether it could actually be sold or not. But it was given the green light by the court.
맞아요. Be given the green light 이렇게 쓸 수도 있고 to green light something 이렇게 쓸 수도 있어요. 명사도 되고 동사도 되고 이거는 우리가 운전할 때나 길 건널 때 신호등 생각하시면 돼요. 초록불이면은 가도 된다 이거니까.
잠시만. 초록불이요? 파란불 아니에요?
초록불, 선생님 파란불이라고 하시나요? 우리는 뭐 다 쓰죠. 파란불이라고 하시는 분들도
Isn't
계시고.
파란 blue?
초록불.
This is the one I always get confused of. If you think you get confused about learning English, for English speakers learning Korean, when we hear that 파란불 and 초록불 could be the same thing,
Yeah.
our mind goes 퐁!
It's mind-boggling. 그래요. 그래서 이제 건너도 된다라는 green light를 영어에서는 이렇게 명사로도 쓰고 동사로도 쓰면서 승인하다 아니면 승인이라는 뜻으로 씁니다.
But we don't red light something.
No, you don't. Or orange light.
No. Or is it amber?
Maybe. Well, we do green light. The other ones don't exist.
Okay, let's not green light those other ones.
All right.
We'll only green light.
Okay. Well, here's the headline again. A rare marble bust found being used as a doorstop is set to be sold for as much as £2.5 million, or about 4.5 billion won, after a court greenlit its auction. Now, here's our final headline.
A nighttime cycling trend that began with 4 Chinese students biking 50 kilometers for dumplings has blown out to a reported 100,000 people jamming major roads, overwhelming a small tourist city and drawing the attention of authorities.
중국에서 학생 4명이 만두를 먹기 위해 밤에 자전거로 50km를 달린 데서 시작된 야간 자전거 주행 트렌드가 최근 약 10만 명까지 규모가 불어나면서 주요 도로가 정체되고 소규모 관광도시가 마비되는 일이 발생해 당국의 조치가 내려졌습니다. Wow, just imagine 100,000 cyclists in one night.
Yeah, and what's to blame? Soup dumplings.
Yes.
Oversized soup dumplings. Back in July, there were 4 students from Zhengzhou University who rode bikes there.
Okay.
50 kilometers because they wanted to try these famous dumplings. And then the trend caught on. And so you got more and more students making the journey. And it seemed like great for tourism, great for, regional pride, great for just enjoyment,
Sure.
for morale. However, the problem is now that we have hundreds of thousands or 100,000 students riding on these public share bikes that belong not in Kaifeng, but to the university area. And they're they're filling up the 6-lane avenue on the roads and the expressway on the smaller streets towards Kaifeng. And so police have been trying to get them out. They're going to restrict cycling on roads and cycle paths on the weekend, and they will remotely lock these shared bikes if they go out of the area they're supposed to be in. So they're trying to basically stop this kind of big jam.
Yeah, exactly. What is a jam?
Well, it's a delicious spread you put on toast in the morning, Sue, made from fruit and sugar.
Okay.
Or it's a blockage of some kind. So when we use it as a noun, like a traffic jam, for example, is a blockage made of cars, where the cars stop moving. However, we can jam something, mean we stick something into it so we stop it working. In this case, we can literally stick thousands of people into one area and then they can't move anymore.
Yep.
But for example, you should never, jam your key into the door if it doesn't fit, or it might break, or, never jam your fork into the toaster.
No. So a traffic jam is what we're referring to in this case. 교통체증을 traffic jam이라고 하죠. 그때 그 jam은 꽉 꼈다, 꼼짝도 못하게 이제 뭔가 껴있다라는 의미가 있어요. 그래가지고 my door's jammed. I can't open it. 이렇게
Yeah.
말할 수도 있어요. 뭔가 문이 왠지 모르겠는데 이제 완전히 껴서 아니면 움직이질 않아서 안 열려 이렇게 말할 수 있죠.
Or a more modern example, you remember when Black and White Chef, the finale, was on, and everybody wanted to book the restaurant of the winner. The app got jammed. There were so many customers.
Apps can get jammed. 맞아요. 이제 인기 굉장히 많은 걸 뭔가 예약하려 그럴 때 그때 우리가 그 인터넷이 마비된다 그러잖아요. 그럴 때는 영어로 the app or the site got jammed.
Yeah.
이렇게 표현할 수 있습니다. Now let's look at the word overwhelm.
Oh, it's too much to handle, Sue. I don't think I can do it.
It's an overwhelming word, isn't it?
It is. Overwhelm. I don't like this word because of the connotations of it. It's not nice.
Okay.
If something is overwhelmed, meaning there's too many things for it to handle. If someone is overwhelmed, it could be about emotions or about your workload. So in this case, we had the city being overwhelmed. Too many tourists coming in, too many people blocking the roads. But for example, when I was a kid, and I had too much homework to do and not enough time, and I didn't know where to start. And my mum was saying I had to do it, and my dad was saying, can you take out the trash? And I just wanted to play on my computer, and I started crying because I was
dear.
overwhelmed.
I almost got overwhelmed myself there listening to your story.
I'm sorry, I don't want to overwhelm you, Sue. Thank goodness you weren't underwhelmed, unlike when I tell you a joke.
Okay, let's have a look at overwhelm. Overwhelm이라는 거 스펠링은요. 일단 overwhelm 이렇게 쓰고요. 뭔가 굉장히 많이 압도하는 분위기라고 생각하면 되겠어요. 주변에 이거 해라 저거 해라 막 그러면서 엄청난 부담감이 있다든지 아니면은 설명을 내가 잘해야 되는데 너무너무 긴장돼. 그럴 때라든지 이게 다 공통적으로는 좀 어찌할 바를 모르는 상황이거든요. 그게 overwhelming situation이고요. 여기서는 도로가 너무나 많은 사이클리스트들로 가득 찼기 때문에 도로가 압도당한 겁니다. 그래서 이게 좀 다양한 의미를 쓸 수 있어요.
It reminds me of Lee Sun-shin,
Okay.
because the Japanese
Yeah.
Navy thought that they could overwhelm the few Korean ships. However, Lee Sun-shin had plans and he was not going to let them overwhelm him.
그렇죠. 이제 압도하려고 했으나 그렇게 하지 못했죠. All right. Well, let me read this headline one more time. A nighttime cycling trend that began with 4 Chinese students biking 50 kilometers for dumplings has blown out to a reported 100,000 people, jamming major roads, overwhelming a small tourist city, and drawing the attention of authorities. Well, that's it for the headlines this morning with Paul Matthews.